So at what age or what point of life should someone start thinking about creating a will or an estate plan?
The real answer and what people probably often do probably are different. The answer is 18.
Hello and welcome to another episode of GOALcast. My name is Tawnya Rockwell, Chief Production Manager of Goal Magazine, and I am here today with Jessica Rafferty of Rafferty Legal. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I actually grew up in Latrobe, went to Latrobe High School. I went on to Bucknell University. After that, I served in the Peace Corps, and then I went to law school at George Mason University down in Arlington, Virginia. I live in Latrobe now, and I love running, so you'll probably, if you're around town, you'll probably see me running around. You'll also see me out with my dog, Calvin, who I adopted from Heel Animal Rescue, actually, and so he's my best buddy.
Love Calvin. I love him. He's so cute.
Everybody does.
In a while. Me and Jess need to get back on the walking trail and see you again. Yes.
Yes.
So, but anyways, I didn't know you were in the Peace Corps.
Yes.
Oh, that's really neat. How long did you do that for?
I was there a year. I was in Honduras.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That is really cool. I've known you this long and I never knew that.
Well, there you go. Something new.
Yeah. So what inspired you to become a lawyer?
So from a really young age, I'm talking like 5 years old, I kept saying I wanted to be a lawyer. And I'm fairly certain that initially it was because my dad's an attorney. Mm-hmm. He continued to tell me, no, you don't want to be a lawyer. And I really think it was because he didn't want me just to do it because he did it. Mm-hmm. But all through school, I kept coming back to the fact that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I think I really just wanted to find a way to help people. And that was a way that I kind of knew you could help people because I saw that my dad helped people. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I was much older and my dad could not tell me what to do any longer. So I did go to law school and I'm really, really glad that I did.
Aw, that's great. So what exactly do you specialize in?
So I focus really exclusively on estate planning, estate administration, which is probate, and elder law. So those are sort of my three areas. We do some real estate in conjunction with a lot of that as well.
Okay, I didn't know that part either. Yeah. Okay, we're learning a lot here today. So I know that you do create a lot of wills for people, mm-hmm. people with their estate plans. So at what age or what point of life should someone start thinking about creating a will or an estate plan?
So the real answer and what people probably often do probably are different. Mm-hmm. So as soon as you hit 18, you are legally an adult. So at the bare minimum, I do recommend that if you're 18, if you had powers of attorney at least in place, because your parents are no longer able to make decisions for you. And if something happened and you weren't able to make decisions for yourself, what ends up happening is someone has to go to the court and have a guardian appointed, which is a really just terrible process, and it's very stressful for the families. And I have had situations where that has become an issue. Okay. I had a young girl that was 19 that was involved in an accident, and she wasn't able to communicate. Thankfully, she was improving. Mm-hmm. So we were able to avoid the guardianship proceeding. But her doctors were telling her parents that they thought they were going to have to petition the court to become her guardian because she wasn't able to make decisions regarding her medical care nor her financial situation. And she was in school, so she had loans and things like that. Mm-hmm. So the answer is 18, just nothing extensive. It's very basic. Mm-hmm. But I do think people oftentimes wait until they're married or they have children and things like that.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't on my radar when I was 18.
No, it wouldn't be. It would have to be your parents that were sort of pushing for that.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's great. I mean, for that situation in particular, that's a great reason why you should start sooner. So what happens if you pass away and you don't have a will?
So everybody has a will, whether they know it or not. There are laws in each state, and they're called intestate laws. And so if you die with a will, you die testate. So it's your last will and testament. That's where the testate comes. Okay. If you die without a will, you die intestate. But the state makes a will for you. So it's not always what people want. And I will tell you, almost 90% of the people that come in to do a will with me have some variation from what the law would have done for them if they hadn't prepared a will themselves.
Okay.
But what will start happening is it'll start looking for like your closest relatives. That's not always what people choose to do.
Right.
And a lot of times it's not necessarily an equal distribution. A lot of times I will see people, especially with younger children, that want to set a higher age limit than 18 as to when a child could actually have control over any assets, because 18-year-olds are just not the greatest with money.
Right.
It's just true. They could be the smartest kid in the world. They just do not have a lot of experience with money. So really, you have a will whether you know it or not. And what you should know is that actually what you would want to have happen?
So say you do set up your will at 19. Like, how often should you update your will?
I usually recommend just taking at least a look at it every 3 to 5 years, just to review it. A lot of times, really, with the will, if you set that up after, if you have children, if your children are grown and that sort of thing, a lot of times you don't have to continue to update it. So it's not a horrible process. It's just a good touch point.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is probate, and does everyone have to go through that process?
Yeah, so I get that question an awful lot. People always hear probate and they think it's some horrible process. All it is it's the legal process for administering someone's estate. Pennsylvania's process is not a bad process at all. There are certain states where the probate process can be expensive and time consuming, but Pennsylvania really is not one of those states. Okay. So certain assets pass through probate, certain assets do not. And the real answer to this is when someone dies, your assets can actually pass one of two ways. So one can be through your will. And again, if you don't have a will, the state made one for you. The other way assets pass are through contracts. Those contracts would be considered non-probate assets. And so a contract could be a life insurance policy. It could be an investment account where you've named beneficiaries, or you have a transfer on death account. In that situation, if you've named a beneficiary, or if you jointly own something with someone, you've made a contract with those people. And so your will is meaningless at that point. So if, for instance, on, let's just say a life insurance policy, you said, I would like person A to receive my life insurance. But in your will, you come in and tell me, I want person B to get everything. A will still receive your life insurance proceeds. And those contracts are considered non-probate assets, the things that pass through your will, which typically would be a house, bank accounts, vehicles, your stuff. Those assets would be considered probate assets. But the process itself is really not bad. People frequently don't even know they're going through probate.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know all of that.
There you go.
Yeah, I am. This is great. So what is a power of attorney, and what happens if you don't have one?
So I kind of touched on this a little bit. So there are a couple different types of powers of attorney. I normally do one that would deal with financial situations and financial decisions, which could include selling real estate, filing your income taxes, all of that. The other type would be for medical decisions. And again, if you do not have a financial power of attorney or a healthcare power of attorney, what ends up happening is someone has to petition the court generally for someone to be appointed as your guardian.
So can you have two power of attorneys, one for health and one for financial?
Yes, you can. And you can pick two different people for those things. And sometimes that makes perfect sense because some people are very good with finances and they're terrible with making medical decisions. Don't put them in charge of it for yours.
Okay, great. So is it ever too late to protect assets from nursing home costs? This is a big question.
It is a big question, yeah. Generally, no. Usually I can protect some. Again, you have to have that power of attorney, though. So go back to that, and that is at least one thing you can do ahead of time as pre-planning in a situation where a nursing home became involved. So if you do nothing else, get that financial power of attorney, because that can allow for asset protection. They don't all allow for that. So it's not like a financial power of attorney, every single one of them is identical, right? There are different things that you can include in financial powers of attorney, one of which is the ability to protect assets.
If someone wanted to set up a will or estate plan with you, how do they go about that? What's the first steps that they would take?
So just give us a call. I don't know if you're going to put the number on here, but it's really easy. It's 724-520-2222 is our office number. And if you give us a call, what we normally do is we'll schedule you for an initial appointment. If you have prior documents, just bring those along. We'll take a look at them. If they're up to date and they're the way you want them, I will not change them. I will just give you some pointers if I do think there's anything that needs updated. If you don't have any documents, that is completely fine also. We send everybody a worksheet that just kind of gathers some background information, but also asks some questions that will get you started and get you thinking about what you're going to need to decide when you do come in for the appointment. When you come in for the appointment, you do not need to know everything. People come in or they will call and say, I don't know the answer to this yet. I don't know if I should come in for the appointment. Come in for the appointment. We will go over everything. I will explain what everybody's role would be in this plan. And you don't even have to have a solid answer right at that moment. Usually what I'll do, if you really don't know for sure what you want to do after the initial appointment, I will send you a summary of what we talked about. I'll highlight things that you were going to think about, and then that gives you time to sort of talk with people or talk to me, and then we finalize it and you come in then for a signing appointment. Okay. If you need more than those 2 appointments in the office, that's also fine. Everybody's different. Everybody's situation is different, and I really think that's what people need to understand. I think people think these are just sort of like cookie cutter things where they're all the same. They so are not. I would be so bored if everybody's estate plan was exactly the same. You look at everyone's family. Nobody's family is the same. And I've probably seen a situation like yours. So people will come in and say, oh my goodness, we have these stepchildren, we have this, we have that, and it's overwhelming to them. And sure, are those a little more complicated sometimes? Yeah, of course they are. You have to think about things a little bit more. But we've done it.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Definitely. So what are the biggest mistakes people make in estate planning, and how can you avoid them?
I think honestly, one of the biggest ones is a failure to communicate. I'm not saying you have to tell your kids or whoever you've put in charge of your estate, because you don't have to put your children in charge of your estate. But I think you need to tell someone what you did and the intention behind it. I've seen some people that have set up really excellent plans, but nobody understood why they did what they did. And it sort of fails then at that point. One situation that comes to mind frequently is there was a woman that had actually purchased long-term care insurance, and it was excellent. I don't even think you can actually find that type of insurance at this point, but this woman had excellent long-term care insurance. But her niece, who was in charge of everything, didn't know why she bought that or what the purpose was behind it, and it didn't serve the purpose that it was intended to. So this long-term care insurance actually covered the cost of her nursing home for 5 years. And at that point, the niece could have taken all of this woman's assets and given it to who this woman wanted to receive these assets.
Right.
And after that 5-year period, she would have easily qualified for medical assistance. The niece didn't know, and so she left all of her assets in the aunt's name for that whole 5-year period. And when the insurance ran out, she had to start paying with her aunt's assets that otherwise would have been protected. And it was just a failure to communicate.
Basically, what I've taken from this is definitely you need to communicate.
Yes.
Where everything's at and how they can locate it and how they go about it. And especially that you are their lawyer and you're handling that for them.
Yes, exactly.
So, yes,
exactly.
Absolutely. So Jessica is also a writer, a contributor for Goal magazine. She always writes really interesting topics about wills, trusts, probate. She also just did an article in the most recent issue of Goal magazine that was released in July that you could pick up a copy or read more by visiting our website at www.gotogoalus.com, and you could read more about everything about Jessica. So I also want to take a moment to thank our sponsors for GOALcast. It wouldn't happen without them. I want to first and foremost thank Headspace Media, whose room we're in right now. It's amazing. They do such an incredible job, as you could tell by watching this video and previous ones. SecondHalf Coach Wealth Management, Laurel, Highlands Insurance Group, and Kisiel and Associates for sponsoring GOALcast. As a reminder, make sure you check us out online at www.go2goalus.com. You could read previous issues. You could learn more about our philanthropic endeavors and so much more other activities that we do within the community. So thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks again, Jess.
Thank you.